weirdest DM that GGO has seen?
Did a big launch, sold just over 100 units in a couple of days. Immediately, they started coming back.
Are they age-wise skewing older?
Skewing older.
Ah.
Yeah. Last year we went to apply for a new bank account with BNZ and we got denied. Within the first year we did just over $1 million.
How many of these Missies, and I guess all products, do you think that you would have sold now?
In our first year we sold over 14,000 and it's been over 4 years now.
If you recognise that noise from your bedroom, it's probably due to this woman. Viv from GGO, it is always good to see you. How are you getting on?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Now, let's start at the beginning of the journey and then figure out what the hell it is that you're doing here. But start with what is this?
That is Missy, our best-selling clitoral suction vibrator. So as opposed to a normal zzz sex toy, this is more of like a on the clit, very popular, quite a different sensation. And that's one of our products from Girls Get Off.
Okay, nice. And if people want to buy one, where do they go to get one?
Girlsgetoff.com.
Simple as that. Well, this is Viv. She is helping the Girls Get Off since
2021.
Yeah, it's gone quite fast, hasn't it?
Oh, we said that the other day. It has gone fast, but it also feels like it's been a long time because of all the things that we've learned.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get into some of those things that you have learned. How does one come to be helping women have orgasms?
Well, it was actually March 2020 over a few socially distanced drinks on Joe, my business partner's driveway. And we knew we wanted to work together. We weren't quite sure what that would look like yet. And she said, how about we start selling sex toys? You know, if you look at the customer experience for buying your pleasure products, you've either got to go into the weird shop down the road. The one down the road from us, you had to walk straight into a sex swing when you walked through the back door. So it wasn't necessarily the most beginner-friendly experience. And then if you took things online and had a look at what was on offer there were websites who'd been around for a long time, but they would have like 800 different products for her. So it was a really overwhelming experience. And we figured, why can't we create something where it is a positive, simple, fun buying experience for women, and we'll market it in the same way as people do skincare or jewellery or other female targeted products. And so that's where we sort of started. And I guess from there we've grown over the last 4 years. It's been a great ride. And I think even though that started as a business decision because we saw a gap in the market for how it was marketed, it's definitely it's also very purpose driven. I think probably had never articulated how for the gals we were and then how passionately we feel about normalising pleasure for women.
What has the reaction been like? What was the reaction initially when you start having to tell friends and even family that this is what you're working on? And then we'll get into what the reaction is like these days.
Yeah, I mean, the reaction was quite mixed. I think people often ask, what did your mum and dad say? But if I fast forward to maybe 5 years before Girls Get Off started, I'd already told them I was going to quit my job. I like to call it my real job that I had after uni with my degree, working in a deer factory. And they were so stoked that their first eldest daughter had gone to uni, got a degree. It's not the experience that they'd had. So when I said, I'm going to quit my job and do Instagram stuff, they didn't even really understand what Instagram was. People still used to ask us back then, what are you going to do when Instagram dies? And so having done that social media business for a few years, by the time I said to them, oh, Joe and I are going to start selling sex toys, they were like, oh, that's lovely, darling. So they just don't care what I do anymore. They're just along for the ride. Yeah. But I think everyone else, I mean, mixed reactions, yeah. But then I think once maybe people had seen that we'd done maybe, you know, going into an Instagram-specific business all those years ago was maybe a little bit out of the box. So I guess this is a slightly more out of the box, but I guess people just have some trust in you sometimes.
Well, speaking of being out of the box, we've got this one out of the box, and I think this is maybe you've had a few iterations of this. Is that correct?
We have. That's V2. So initially we started out with Missy Mini, and we had that one toy and one product for the first 18 months of Girls Get Off, and then that is the second iteration. So we took the Mini off and she's just Missy now and is a little bit different, higher quality, more waterproof. Yeah.
How many of these Missies, and I guess all products, do you think that you would have sold now?
Luke, someone asked me this question yesterday.
Sorry.
It would have been a real good number to know coming into these podcasts. But I think in our first year we sold over 14,000 and it's been over 4 years now. So surely we'd be over 50 or 60,000 products by now.
Because you've got a number of products as well, more than just Missy Mini and Missy, right?
We do. We've got about 6 different vibrators now and probably 10 or 11 SKUs or products on our store to date.
Wow. And I see that there's a pillow Talk me through the pillow.
There's a Bumpy Cuddles pillow that is used for, how would I best describe it? If you've ever had sex before and put pillows under your butt as the female just to get a bit of a better angle in terms of hitting your G-spot or feeling a little bit deeper, the Bumpy Cuddles pillow is like 4 times firmer than your regular pillows. So it means that it can really prop things up and hit the good angles. You can be on your front or you can be on your back. And people have been really loving that. Tested up to size 22 as well. So she's quite firm foam.
Size 22, I'm not very familiar with the industry. What does that mean, tested up?
Like dress size.
Gotcha.
Because people often say, is it okay for plus size? Yeah.
I was wondering what size 22 was for a second there. Okay. How did you know that the world needed that pillow? Is that community feedback or is it intuition?
We were looking for something that, I'll rewind a little bit. Because we are technically against like the terms of service, we're in a bit of a grey zone when it comes to marketing on social media. There was a time when Instagram was so strict that we couldn't even show a sex toy on our feed. So we were having to make content without even showing the product. Like I would make a video. I remember we released a wand toy and I made a video of me running around in a witch costume. And even just running around tapping things with this toy gets flagged by Instagram. So it got to the point where we were like, we actually need some products here that we can put on our feed so people know what they are. So that's sort of where that came from. And there's other products like that in the market, and we have just sort of adjusted it to be best for our audience. But do you know what? Do you remember when Zuckerberg came out and said that they were going to lift some of the restrictions on Meta?
Is that when you started wearing black T-shirts?
Yeah.
And got curly hair again? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a while ago, it might have been like last year, when he actually said we're going to lift some of the restrictions. So now you'll see that there's toys on our feed again, but there was a period there where there were none because we would just get constantly flagged, which means that when we put content out there, it will be shown to our followers, but it can't be shown to our non-followers. So if you create a reel that normally might go viral or go really well, even if it could be super engaging and gets thousands of shares, it would still just not be shown to people who weren't our followers. So we were just missing out on so much growth.
How do you have the tenacity to keep going with so many roadblocks? Because it seems like you've got the world working against you to market something like this, but you're constantly trying to find a way to get around the law and help people climax.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So if we were selling hats or clothing, for example, we would be spending money on Meta and we would be bidding against other competitors in our niche. So if we wanted to sell caps, then I'd be targeting my target audience, but so would all my other competitors. And that just means the ad spend or the cost to acquire that customer or get a purchase just gets higher and higher. So I guess in a way, being in an industry where we can't run ads is good because we can't be easily outspent by our competitors. Yes, they can offer influencers and so on more money. They can spend more in terms of Google search, but it's harder for them to just post something random and just throw money behind it and get in front of more people. So even though it has been challenging, because marketing and building a community has been what we've focused on and has been our strength, that's meant we have been able to grow in a market where there's such old players and who are so established.
So the creative is basically the variable towards success in this space.
Yeah, there's no other brand who's created a community on Instagram around the sex toy market like we have.
Wow. Nice.
There's a few accounts with more followers, but I wouldn't say that they don't have founders behind, like on the feed behind the brand, and they don't have like engaged Facebook group like we do either.
How have you gone about, because I guess I'll start here, you've really lent into demonstrating using a lot of the products
Yes.
In a PG way that is acceptable on the platforms. How, the first time you did that, is this just your personality or do you think you've had to lean into it?
In terms of like being in content on the feed?
Yeah, because most people are scared to post anything. You're in there in the bathtub doing all sorts of shit.
Of course, the positions. Well, I've never met a business owner who's been excited about creating content. I feel like I talked to lots over the years who've wanted to grow on their Instagram accounts, and even now people say, oh, I just hate posting content. Like I unless they've been a creator first and then started a business, I genuinely have never met someone who's been like, yes, can't wait to put my face on Instagram today.
Yeah.
And I think with us, we've just had no choice. Like, we've just been so desperate. And then when you see how well it does, you just have to take one for the team, I think. Yeah.
Take one for the team.
Take one for the team. And if it gets engagement and you make sales, then at the end of the day, it's like, well, what's the alternative? Like, it's not like I can just pump money behind it. So,
And is there a correlation between the content that pops off and then website sales in the background?
there is now, yeah. Now that we have, like you're referring to Dilly, our new suction dildo that I was doing, sort of piss take poses, but also some different positions that people can try in the bath or the shower. That does actually give people ideas, and it does lead to increases in sales for those products.
Do you think naming the toys gives it it tones it down a little bit more again and gives people more familiarity with it? Is it strategic?
In terms of making them non-intimidating?
Yeah, or just like the purpose behind naming each of them?
I think they would normally have a name. Maybe
Okay.
not like a personal name on other sites. Like maybe you'd have like the Dong Blaster 3000 or something instead of Missy or Dilly, you know?
Is that
So
a
we've
real
kind
one?
of gone cutesy. I mean, I remember seeing there was a Dong Blaster 3000. There's other brands like King Cock, and there's other I bought a like a butt plug once for a friend, or a little prostate massager, and it was called The Invader, you know? So there's some quite intimidating names out there. We've gone the opposite.
Nice, The Invader.
The
My
Invader.
word. Because it's strange that Meta has this stance on these, but the porn industry is massive, and from what I understand, like there's more and more content coming out about the porn industry and the dangers of it, and then the advertisers using it, which is quite fascinating. But even like gambling, with the amount of influencers, you know, online casinos that are unregulated in New Zealand and whatnot, that all seems to be fair game. But and even like an OnlyFans creator creating gateway to their OnlyFans. But if you're holding on to a sex toy, it can pick up and go, no, we don't want that on here.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do gambling companies, can they do paid ads? They can't, can they? They've just been doing influencer collabs.
Yeah, so in New Zealand we have, and these rules are always changing, and there's a fair bit changing in the space at the moment, but it's actually illegal for an overseas provider to advertise into New Zealand, because we run a monopoly system over Lotto, the TAB, and not Pokies, but they're all controlled too, but Sky City, right? But with the internet, that's sort of broken that, so people are betting offshore, but those companies can't technically market directly into New Zealand. Otherwise, the Department of Internal Affairs go after them and say, you can't do that. So that's why you don't normally see TV ads or direct ads for it. Some people will have a crack, but I think what they've figured out is, let's go through the creator, and they've got the online casino in the background. They build up the following, etc. I don't know how they're revenued. I'm not going to speculate on that. But I don't think they're just playing that, you know, because they're having some fun doing that. I think it's a deliberate play through the creator. But yeah, I'm just surprised that that stuff can get through onto the platforms and it's fine. Maybe because it's organic, but then there's such a hard line on sex toys.
Yeah, I mean, we can use influencers if we want to. I think in terms of like image recognition and picking up the products, do you mean? Like in terms of, yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I know that OnlyFans creators will struggle if they link directly to OnlyFans, so they'll get in trouble for that as well. That's why they'll have the like all my links or something in their bios. Look, yeah, I'm not sure.
But what I guess the overarching thing, why is it that sex toys is so taboo, do you think, from what you've seen?
They can't, do you know, they're in the same, there's a thing called the shaft laws, believe it or not. It's sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, tobacco, and those are the like 5 naughty ones. So when it comes to like ads on Facebook, I think they just go, we just don't want to touch any of those things. Same with Klaviyo and like SMS marketing. So it was really hard for us to even find a provider who would let us do SMS marketing, and it wasn't until we bought out things like our libido supplement that they would let us, so that we could say, oh, we won't like talk about the toys, we'll just talk about our libido supplement. So yeah. Excuse
the pun, but are you taking this stuff lying down, or are you going are you going to these providers saying, hey, come on, give us a fair go here?
Yeah, we do push back a lot. Like I can see from, say, Meta's standpoint how they've just drawn a line in the sand and say, you know, we're not going to go there, and that's quite a big provider that we're not going to go, go after so much. However, for example, last year we went to apply for a new bank account with BNZ and we got denied. And we'd gone through their online process, we'd talked to a few different people, and they still came back to us, and I can't remember the exact words, but it was something to the effect of, this is against our values or what we're comfortable with, so on and so forth. But I know that, A, we'll do anything for a bit of press, but also I know that that will wind people up because, again, they've probably just drawn a line in the sand. And so we put that out to our channels. We got a bit of press from that in the Herald. And that, from a business standpoint, for us was awesome for a number of reasons. A, we ended up getting the bank account, and the CEO of BNZ said, I'll come and be in your content. So I still need to take him up on that.
Yeah.
But for us as well, being in the media is always amazing. And it also means we get in front of an audience which we might not normally reach on Instagram. So you're like, I can tell when we've had an article because the orders will be like Margaret, Keith, Gary, the
Luke.
kind of names you'd expect from someone reading the Herald versus maybe coming through from an Instagram channel.
Yeah, and are they age-wise skewing older?
Skewing older.
Oh,
Yep.
interesting.
Yep.
So there's no limit to self-pleasure.
There is no limit to self-pleasure, although SuperGold card
Yeah.
thinks differently. So they were the latest one who rejected us, unfortunately. We went to put our business up as a discount or an offer on the SuperGold card website. And initially it got accepted, and then I went in to change the cover photo and a few details, and then I got an email saying it had been declined. I was like, no, someone, I can just see it now. Someone in the office has gone, oh, that's fine. And then someone else has gone, what is this? And taken it down. So we did stir the pot a little bit on that. And Emily Wrights wrote a really good article on her Patreon page saying, do people stop being horny at 65? And it elicited some incredible responses from people in that age bracket saying that that was not the case. So that definitely stirred the pot there. But
So can the superannuitants, including my mum, can they get a discount on the website, or they didn't put it through? They didn't
put it through, no, and they still haven't let us go on there. So maybe we need a bit more stirring.
For the massive prep that I did for this interview, if I watched a interview that you did with Michael Laws.
Yes.
Gee, he knew a lot about this space. I feel like he talked more in the interview than you did.
Well, I mean, he's a talkback radio host, but I always appreciate whenever we get on something like the platform. We've been on Radio NZ because, again, it's just that demographic who we don't otherwise get to be in front of. And a topic like this does stir people up a little bit because when you unpack it and when you're talking about sex and pleasure and like good relationships and intimacy, like nothing bad actually comes from talking about pleasure in a really healthy, effective way.
So let's go back to the start of your journey before GGO. Now, you had Ace the Gram.
Ace the Gram.
Yeah, bring it back. Why did you pick such a hard avenue, do you think, with how much you already knew about Instagram, social media marketing, and business in general? Why this? Like, obviously, we touched on how it came about, but did you know at the time, this is going to be really hard because what you do already understand about social media, a lot of it is not going to be allowed to pass the gatekeeper?
We didn't think, we probably could have done a bit more planning there, Luke, to be honest. But we'd also seen, we'd identified the need within our immediate friend group and as target customers. But then in addition to that, we could see there was another brand, like one other brand in the States, and they might have had a 2-year head start on us and they were doing really well. So in terms of proof of concept, I guess, you could sort of see that it was already working somewhere else, which even though when you're planning a business, you're still not sure if it's going to work until people actually take their money out and buy from you.
Yeah.
We could see that it was working elsewhere and we thought, we can do a better job than them of that and we can put our own flair on it and use a lot of humour compared to being quite aspirational. And there are a number of different things that we could do. So we could just see that was an avenue worth pursuing. And even though we weren't sure about the ads, we thought maybe we could do, at the beginning we thought we'll just start, boosting some stuff and putting up some random ads and see how far we get. I think that lasted about 3 days. But other than that, we thought that influencers were going to be something that were really going to drive traffic and awareness for the business.
Yeah. Do you want to talk us through very quickly what Ace the Gram is, just so people have context about, your life before this?
Oh, yeah, cool. So Ace the Gram was, at university I actually started a sportswear brand, and to build that business I was using Instagram for marketing, just organically posting. At the same time, a friend of mine was building out her food Instagram account. Initially she only did it to show future employers what she could do with food. But from there, we both noticed that people were asking us, how are you growing on Instagram? What's the secret? Can you please help me? And so from there, we started taking on clients just as freelancers and then decided we might actually have something here. Let's team up, build a business together. And so from that, we started Ace the Gram. We had a Facebook group called Instagram Growth and Engagement, which is, I think that's how we met, right?
Yes.
You're in the Facebook group.
Yep.
And then we grew that business over a number of years managing Instagram accounts for people, but it was always organic. It was never really in the paid space because there were plenty of people doing a good job of that. It was our differentiating factor to just talk about organic Instagram.
Getting in the KiwiSaver fund that suits you and your situation is key to making sure you're maximising your investment. Generate are an award-winning KiwiSaver provider with a track record of long-term performance, and they can help you do exactly this. Their advisors can meet with you to talk about all your options when it comes to KiwiSaver to help you decide what's best for you. Too many people never get KiwiSaver advice, but not you. Go to generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change to book a no-obligation chat with a Generate advisor. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
Keen to get into some of the realities of e-commerce because I know how hard you work and I've watched that over the years and I know what it takes to push into the market and try and make things happen. But I do think that there's a lot of people that just see somebody like yourself or see an e-commerce product and think, oh yeah, I could do that. So give us some insight as to what does it really take to try and shift tens of thousands of units of something?
Look, I think that you just kind of have to keep throwing stuff at the wall to see what works. Like the last probably 18 months, even I would say border around 2 years, like we'd been like plateauing, up, down, break even. I'd call Phil and be like, come on, Phil. What are you really worried about? You know, what am I not looking at? Like there's been plenty of ups and downs, and it honestly all comes down to throwing stuff at the wall, and then eventually, because you're trying so many things, one thing will take off and one thing will work. So a few examples of that would be when we first started the account. We'd been posting on Instagram, say March 2021 we launched, and then we'd been posting, we'd been engaging, growing the community, and it was all going all good. And then when lockdown came in September of 2021, Joe and I were on the phone to each other and went, engagement is going to be crazy. Let's just go hard. I don't think we've ever worked so many hours. I've definitely never worked that many hours in my life, just day to day. Literally wake up, put my laptop on my bed, start working content every single day, and then realised, okay, we can actually, there's no reason to only keep this level of content up during lockdown. We can do this afterwards. But it was that initial pressure and boost, and just, there's an element of luck, but it's also, luck is, preparation meets opportunity or something,
It is now.
It is now. Unless you'd have been doing all the work up until that point, and then to have that moment of, hold on a second, we need to capitalise on this, because also other businesses won't realise this until day 2 or day 3, so we can get a head start. So that would be one example of just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what works. That then turned into, okay, we can create this like engaging content in terms of quizzes on our stories, funny content. We were already doing our confession segment every Sunday, which is where people write in and tell us what they've been up to over the weekend. We share those we share those anonymously. And then other times have been, trying different influencers. You'll try one influencer over here. Oh my gosh, amazing. All right, how can we replicate that? Try and figure out, okay, well, they have that sort of following. They've got that many female followers from that area of the world. Okay, let's try it again. And that one completely falls flat. And so it's like up, down. And it just sometimes takes the lots and lots of trial and error to sort of figure out what works. But every now and then, the recent one has been for the last the last 6 months at least, we decided to crank up our reels and try and do 2 a day. And I think for so long, you're like, wow, we're putting out a lot of content here and we're not necessarily seeing always an uptake. And so you're always trying to tweak that content and do it differently. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but have interest rates just started rolling off? Because we noticed a definite increase in just organic sales from the 1st of May or 1st of May, and I thought this is something external here, because I think because we've done so much content for so long and our audience has grown, and we've had like kind of some increases, but it's also been very plateauish for the amount of effort we've been putting in. I think now's the time where not only are people like at home, nothing to do, probably playing with themselves and each other, but now they've probably got a little bit more cash that they can spend because they've been watching us for so long.
Nice. How do you keep going when it's not working?
I think I'm always still trying other stuff. You're always trying other little random things. There's always
something you can
like
do.
you try different things. You're doing like YouTube. I bet you're doing shorts. We'll throw stuff over onto TikTok. For a long time, we were doing, growing a bit of an audience on TikTok. But we've found for us that's not necessarily something that turns into sales compared to Instagram. What else do we do? Yeah, there's just always things happening. But at the same time, I do say throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, but you also can't throw too many things. You can't spread yourself too thin and do real average job of stuff either.
What about like the days where you wake up and you just go, you know what, I've got no creativity, I just can't be right now? Does that happen, or is it just you're not that person?
I don't know. I don't know if I even wake up like that. I don't know if I ever wake up and can't be bothered. Maybe if I was really hungover or something, motivation might be a little bit low, but I might get frustrated. Sometimes that might be the time where I start like learning something off topic or doing something random. But I think, do you know what I normally do is talk to other people. So I'm always talking to other e-commerce owners about what they're doing, what's working for them. Like a friend and I, we have like a monthly catch up and we just talk about what's been working for us, what hasn't. There's always little things that we're trying to work at.
In terms of e-commerce, I think the bit that non-accountants don't understand is that eventually when it works, when something works, and I had this conversation with my sister who had an idea around a product, you take your profits and then you invest into it getting bigger, right? And it's probably, I reckon, I'm not into e-commerce, like I don't play in that space, but if I did, I reckon that's what would frustrate me the most, is that basically it just continues to encourage you to go bigger, but you never really access the cash because you're constantly just taking the profits, reinvesting into the next batch or the next thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I thought unless you're growing at a really steady rate, then you otherwise have to if you start growing really fast, you actually end up almost needing to take on loans and stuff as well. And then it's almost like if you have a downside, that's even like the downside is even bigger. You do have to take the profits and just buy more stock, etc. Or for other e-commerce brands, like spend more money on ads. So as an accountant, don't you think like you'd have to get to a certain size and then once it sort of plateaus a bit, then you can take money out, or you can either take some money out, but you just at the expense of putting that money back in?
Yeah, I guess it, for people, they've got to decide how big they want it to go. But, we see this all the time with e-commerce businesses where they end up tying up, they get really excited about something that's selling well and then they order, but then there's that big lag before it coming back from China or wherever it comes from, right? Or there's delays and all of a sudden like the market's turned and then you're stuck with all of this stock. And it's the same for retail businesses. They're basically looking at all of their profits and they're all on the shelf. And unless they can sell them and turn them into cash, they're sitting there going, shit, I can't actually access the cash. And it's like the business almost traps you because you've got to keep going back there every day, being like, we need to sell this shit and turn it into cash. But I think you've got to find a healthy blend of like, right, paying yourself through the process, plus then do you reinvest the money back into the product or the next product, or even stacking some money aside to be able to do that. But when I was running the numbers with my sister on this product, I was showing her, look, you could sell 100 of these, which would be great. Here's what you're going to have. And then you've got to put some aside for tax. And then you're going to want to put that into, I'm like, what are you going to do after? She's like, well, I'll order more. I'm like, great. So that money's gone. And then you've got to wait. And so I think it's like, there's so much content on social media these days around e-commerce, almost oversimplifying it, but not talking about how hard you have to bust your ass, how you've got to be like highly energetic, plus can you access the cash if you want to continue to scale it up.
And then you have like 2 batches of faulty freak sheets like we've had lately, and that really throws a spanner in the works for your cash. So we had one manufacturing fault and we were like, oh no. So the waterproof blankets that we ordered, we did a big launch, sold like maybe just over 100 units in a couple of days, and then immediately they started coming back because people had put them through the wash and like the stitching was coming undone. We're like, oh, perfect, that's great. Anyway, long story short, discounted those. I even went to China to make sure that the next batch was going to be great. The next batch comes back. We started washing them, drying them for a photo shoot. And even though they'd sent me samples, which were fine, they'd clearly sent me good ones because we put like 8 different blankets through the wash, and we're like, well, now this time the waterproof inner is coming apart. So we've got another batch. So when you have a big like screw up like that, not only is that tens of thousands of dollars of cash, like you say, sitting there that you're like, well, not only is this cash sitting here, but now I've got to sell it quickly at a discounted rate, because otherwise if I don't sell it quickly, it's just going to be sitting there. You also don't have a lot of room for error, and you don't have necessarily cash for your next batch. So we've been hustling the freak sheets lately.
Freak sheets. What's a freak
sheets.
sheet for those
So
wondering at home?
if you would like to have messy sex, like period sex, if you're a squirter, you don't want to worry about sweat on your bed or wet patches, then you can just pop a little freak sheet down. It can hold up to 1 litre of water. Well, we say up to 1 litre, but I've hosed them on the driveway before to show how waterproof they are, and they hold plenty. So you can just pop them down and then scrunch them up, put it in the washing machine, done deal. Get back into bed.
I'm not even sure if I should say this, but it's a fancy version of a tarpaulin almost.
Well, it's almost got like maybe a tarpaulin in the middle,
Okay.
you know, because it's still like a normal blanket. You wouldn't be able to tell that it was a waterproof blanket.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you could freak on the sheet and then continue to sleep on it.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
you'd
no,
get rid of it.
no.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
You don't want to
yeah,
sleep.
yeah.
You don't want to sleep.
I
in
don't
it.
want to sleep.
Okay. I'm going to check out the demo on the on Instagram. What other challenges have you faced that people might not have seen or that come to mind when we talk about some of those harder times?
I think every business owner, e-commerce or not, will probably have had people's struggles. Like I think, you know, especially if you have, I mean, I think even if you've been a manager before, if you've had that experience, you would still have people struggles because people are humans and there's so many variables involved.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the beginning we were growing so fast, we were like, yeah, let's do more content. We're just going to hire more people to do more content. And then realised like, A, we've only got one product, so people can't even buy something else from us. B, we haven't even hired people that are necessarily experts at content. So I guess there's always that argument of, do you hire someone who's experienced or do you hire someone who's malleable and you can train them? And we've definitely learned for us, we're better off going and hiring someone experienced, because when you are starting and you're the co-founder and you're already doing, you know, jack of all trades, then there's not a lot of time left over. Is it really the best use of your time to be training someone new? So we've gone from a model of, well, A, when we had too many staff, B, then instead of hiring people who were maybe quite junior, we actually work with a lot of contractors now. So instead of having people who we might need to train up, which takes time, we now use people who know what they're doing. They've got proven results, even down to our 3PL, so third-party logistics. Instead of having a warehouse, we now have Brand Nation in Auckland. They do all our shipping for us. So, and that's, I talk to a lot of other friends who, you know, it's not quite right for them and they're still happy shipping stuff out of home. But for us, if we had a sale in the weekend, then we'd have to come in on the Monday and it'd be like, oh, we really need help stickering satchels today, and there's 4 of us down there putting labels on boxes and satchels, and that's actually not a good use of everyone's time. And now we can just sell stuff and it doesn't matter. They sort it out all for us. We don't have to worry about when the label printer breaks, or if we get someone new, then you've got to go, Jo would have to take time out of her day to train a new person up. So little bits and pieces like that have been really interesting learning curves. If I was starting something again, I'd go straight to 3PL now. It's just such a variable that even though some people see it as a bigger cost, it actually, I actually think it worked out about the same price for us, or, a bit cheaper. But the admin side, like who's going to pack orders over Christmas? If you can take out those variables, then there's more time to do stuff like content. It's going to lead to web traffic, which is going to lead to sales.
Well, I was about to say, given that we said before that creative is probably the variable of success, right? If you're doing admin and packaging and non-creative shit, you're basically capping your ability to be more successful because you can't put that time into creative.
Yeah.
Why do you think people struggle so much to reinvest back into themselves or their business?
Give me an example.
Well, right?
Like outsourcing.
Yeah, classic Kiwi would be like, don't pay an electrician, like fix it yourself, you know, or you could paint your own house, so do it yourself, like save yourself some money. And so But then in business, you can't apply that same thinking because it doesn't work. Or you would have spent tens of thousands of dollars learning shit, but people would say, that's a waste of money, you're getting scammed, personal development rabbit hole or whatever. What do you think the difference is in those two types of people, or anything that you've learned along the way where you can validate this is smart to buy your time back and to educate yourself?
One of the things that I noticed myself doing and learned, it was sort of changed, was I think when you are the sort of person who starts a business, you're the sort of person who just gets on and does it, sees a problem, like sorts it out. Oh, I'm going to read between the lines here. You know, you might have a question for someone and go, actually, I think I can log into that platform and get the answer myself and do this, that and the other. But getting like a VA, so a virtual assistant, who now like will go through my emails and just clear everything out, get rid of any other stuff, order anything that I need to. Like, that's not a hard job. And I would have just been, by habit, used to just going through and having a look and just sorting that all out. But now just those little jobs, or even if something's wrong on Shopify, I just pass it off and say, can you just jump on support and like sort that out? Or can you stuff that in the past you just innately go, well, that's easy, I can just do it myself. Anything that's not related to like creating sales and, which is the content, which is a better use of my time. It's like, even if it's just a little job, set this new person up on these emails, or, get this sort of, or can you just change the profile image on the Instagram account? All those random little things.
Yeah.
What's your hourly rate versus their hourly rate, and like look at it and zoom out. So I don't know what, I think the only reason we didn't do it in the past is just out of habit, because that's probably the characteristics that maybe got you there in the first place was, figuring it out and solving all the problems. But then there has to come a time when it sort of changes. Couldn't go back now though.
One thing that I've noticed is, especially with social media businesses, is that because the platforms are so incredibly addictive, when you're a business owner using them, you think, oh, I need to go on to here and change the profile picture or do this small task. And then you get on there, but then there's a message. And then you get the message and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this message. I better send it to somebody, or I'm going to put it on the story or something. And then you carry on and you're like, shit, what did I go on there for?
Yeah.
Do you ever do that?
Oh, now I only try and do the DMs like once or twice a day.
Yeah.
Because I do see value in like me still doing the DMs, so I know what questions people are asking. I know what like I can use for content as well.
Yeah.
But I do limit that to a couple of times per day. If I am, in terms of like, there's always risk of being distracted, I guess.
Yeah,
But I do try and limit it a little bit. But then on the flip side, if I'm creating content, sometimes I get inspiration from just scrolling. So then I'll sit there and go through or save things as I go. Yeah, it's a hard one though.
Before we move on to the next pit, what else has this business taught you?
Oh, I knew at the start when I said, I've learned so many things, that you were going to ask, what have you learned?
Yeah, what are they?
I think you mentioned investing in yourself. I think that one of the things that I've learnt is, it's always good if you can talk to someone who's done it before, take the shortcuts. But also sometimes if you don't know about a topic, sometimes we think it's more complicated than it is, only because we don't understand what it is. And then you go out and spend money on an agency or a freelancer or someone to do it for you. And A, you don't know how to measure if the results are good, or if there's being progress made. But B, we've spent a lot of money in the past where you turn around and go, actually, even though we want to outsource stuff, there's also an element, I think, in my experience, of understand it enough first. An example for that would be SEO. So, I realised, wow, SEO, so important. We need to do that. But I really don't know what to do. I watched some YouTube videos. I was like, this is way over my head. We ended up paying an agency. And then I realised, I was like, are we really paying that much for one blog a month? And then
$3,000 a month, probably?
Yeah, probably, or more, yeah.
Well.
And then talk to other mates who their main driver of sales for their business was SEO, and they were going, this is how many blogs we do, this is how many backlinks we try to get every week. And I'm like, we are never going to be able to pay for that via an agency to get the same results. And so then kind of like bringing it back, and then like learning more, watching more YouTube, paying for different courses and stuff, and just diving deep enough just so that you understand what needs to be done, what the like outputs should be, and how you can sort of measure the success is sort of just enough. I think that's been one of the biggest learnings, that just because you don't know something doesn't mean it's complicated. You should dive into it first, because you could save yourself a lot of money.
I reckon the things that we don't know how to do are always the things we procrastinate on too, when we think they're going to be complex. But often when I start them, then I realise, oh shit, this actually isn't that hard. I just needed to get started.
Yeah.
But I thought it was going to be this big project or hard thing, but actually it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Some quick fire ones for you then, Viv. Weirdest DM that GGO has seen?
I mean, we've had a few over the years of people. One that springs to mind lately is we've had a few times people have sent us almost like their success shots of like really wet patches on their bed with maybe the toys that they've used to achieve that. So, I mean, that's always gets a screenshot and put straight on the stories, you know, with a quick link to the products.
Meta doesn't take those ones down?
Yeah, no, interestingly, we've actually been able to get away with a few of those.
Well, you don't get any like random images outside of that?
Yeah, I mean, we do get the odd unsolicited dick pic, but I think way less than people would assume.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you love about entrepreneurship?
I love being able to do whatever you want, I guess, you know, like, and I think there's also like an abundance mentality that comes with that as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I've had plenty of sleepless nights in my time and probably will continue to do so because you realise that everything that you're, like, it's all on you to figure it out. But at the same time, it's also all in your control. Like, I have a lot of, sympathy for maybe friends who've been, like, made redundant over the last couple of years or, but then the realisation that that's not good, like, that's not going to be a reality for me. Or even I talked to a friend the other day and he had to take 3 days off between Easter and Anzac to come back to New Zealand to visit family. And I realised, I was like, I don't need to do that at all. Like, I definitely don't make use of that enough. But the realisation that I'll never have to take annual leave or anything, that's just not for me. Yeah.
I remember asking in a job once, telling them I was going to the grand final because the Warriors made it. And they were like, no, you'll have to put a leave request in. I'm like, are you fucking serious, man?
Yeah.
The Warriors don't just make the grand final every year. I'm like, I am going. And they're like, that's not really how it works. I think that was probably an early sign for me. I wasn't destined to be an employee.
Yeah. And I mean, with that said, I remember maybe 2 years into Girls Get Off was the first time I'd actually had a holiday. Like, I remember with the social media agency, I was at R&V and it was 6 p.m. I was like, got to post on Instagram, say to my mates and Mosh, I'll be 2 seconds. I'll walk out, quick post, back in. And then, so it's a two-way street and not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur to get there. But yeah, I am happy to take on the risk and play the game to get those benefits.
A business like yours, it's never off, right? Good pun there.
It's never off.
You can't turn it off. So you can, I'd imagine it's so tempting to always be doing something because there will always be something you could do or posting more content or replying to a message or whatnot.
Well, I am lazy sometimes.
Okay.
I'm not. I mean, I guess do you know what? The hard thing is that there's always so many different channels. It's probably along the lines of that throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. You know, I'll talk to someone and they're doing amazing on TikTok Shop because they've set up a VPN and they're in the States and they've gone to a 3PL and shiny object syndrome goes, ooh, maybe we should give that a go. Or then I see someone smashing it on YouTube and I go down that rabbit hole and watch a few of those videos and go, ooh, maybe I should try that. So there's always so many different things you can be doing. But I think, for us, it's double down, get that one channel sorted because we've been spread too thin in the past. And sort of go from there. And then also for me, I kind of have a rule of not working too much after dinner because otherwise my brain just keeps going and I actually find it really hard to sleep. Yeah. I did it the other day. I was so silly. I couldn't sleep till midnight because I'd been I just want to get these things done. I'd been out all day. But that's probably one of my personal things is I'm more of a morning person than a night. I'm better off getting up early and just getting it done rather than eating into sleep time. Yeah,
I literally get up and I go straight to my laptop. That's my morning. I have some little bit of brekkie and a coffee and I start working.
Yeah.
Within 3 minutes, probably. Sometimes Taz is talking to me and I'm like, the director is at the accounting office. What? Yeah, have a good day. Yeah, but I have to just be
straight on the screen.
Yeah, into it. Yeah,
nice.
And then I go to the gym after that.
Oh,
and then I go, but I then client meetings later on. But I've really designed my day. And I think that's what I like about it is you can entrepreneurship and business allows you, because employment's basically 9 to 5, we're basically right?
Yeah.
This is what you must do. And you can have a break then, and lunch then, and a break then.
Yeah.
Are you fucking serious? Is that a good way for a human. We're not all like that.
No.
So sometimes at 4 o'clock, I'm like, oh, I feel really tired. I'm like, okay, I might do some content research. But other times I'm like, give me another 4 hours, let's go. And I could like build
I'd probably
it in.
have a nap if I was
Oh,
tired,
would
not
you?
do some content research.
Oh, wicked. I can't nap. An undiagnosed brain like this cannot nap. Okay. So yeah, but you can mold your day. And
Yeah.
You can design it and then get the most out of yourself, like an athlete. I think, and that's why I think a lot of business owners are actually like athletes. Hopefully, some insight to business for those who aren't in it. What has moving to Sydney taught you about New Zealand?
Oh, what an amazing question. Moving to Sydney, I mean, I initially moved because, not only did we want to build the business there, but I was also like, right, it's time to get out of the Mount. We've been here for a while now. And it has been super eye-opening. I knew it would be good for business and learning, and also just the main thing for me was just opening up my brain. Like we're up to 6 million, aren't we, in New Zealand? I think there's like 6 million people in Sydney. So I remember a mentor saying to me, you've got to expand out of New Zealand. That would be like an Australian e-commerce brand saying, oh, we're just going to market to Sydney and that's it. We're just going to stop there. So being in Sydney has opened my eyes to the size of businesses, for starters. So I went and immediately joined the EO, or the Entrepreneurs Organisation. And so just seeing the scale of businesses in there, people who've got hundreds of staff, who've sold businesses at levels which I would just go, that just wasn't as close to me before. I think I heard from like 2 billionaire speakers within like the first 6 months of being there, one from EHP Labs and the other one started QuadPay.
Did everyone hate them and say, hey,
No.
oh, really? $1 billion? Do you need $1 billion? Oh, what's the impact you're making? Oh, taxes. Did that happen?
Yeah, not quite,
weird.
not that setting.
Okay.
But it was pretty amazing to go, wow, the access to these people was, it's just different. It's just the amount of people in Australia is different, so you get different levels. And I also think, again, being there, people would say, gosh, Australia's too small, I need to go to Silicon Valley, or I can't wait to go to the States. So you can see that how Kiwis will go, we need to go to Australia. All the Aussies are going, oh, we need to go to America. Australia is so small. So it's just that like expansive sort of thinking. I mean, even like the way people are living, like I've been in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, and I think it's pretty safe to say there's not really a recession in the east of Sydney.
Yeah.
But just the normalisation of travel, like I think people are earning more, which means someone said to me, are you going to Europe this year? I said, what do you mean am I going to Europe this year? So I've never been to Europe. And thinking about, like, I'm pretty sure I had leaving drinks for a friend who was going to Europe when I was back living in the mountain. You know, they'll go away for 6 weeks. We just wanted an opportunity to drink.
Yeah.
So just because people are, like, earning more, there's more money swirling around. People is just, like, so the norm. And then, of course, now I'm the one who's gone to Europe this year and last year as well. You know, it's all rubbing off. But it's been good. It's always good to stretch your thinking like that and figure out, well, how am I going to make more money so I can do all these different things.
From what I've observed, you've always been, well, since I've known you, interested in growing yourself and not complacent. So you're always building your own path. When do you think that happened for you in life? Can you trace it back and figure out like why you're like that, rather than, just stick to the mount, get a good job, help out with the surf club, rescue a couple of people, go kill the shark that tried to eat someone down at Waihi Beach, etc. Where's the drive?
I don't know. I think it's always, like, if I think back, I was always trying to sell stuff to my sisters, or in COVID we were selling feijoas. I know you've got a similar story as well.
Yeah.
And there's always been, I'd probably never articulated that I was entrepreneurial until I was at uni and had sort of started that business. Like even going into uni, I thought, well, I'm going to go to uni and do pharmacy so I can own pharmacies, but still hadn't, put my finger on the fact that maybe the owning the pharmacies part was actually what you're interested in.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, abysmally failed the papers that you need to be a pharmacist. And then we did food science because, like, well, I need to, like, people aren't going to stop eating. I'll do that. We're at uni so we can get jobs to make money. So, and it wasn't until, maybe it also comes back to recognising quite early on that more money equals more freedom, less stress. Yeah, my parents split up, and I think I watched Dad, who had more money, cruise through, from my perspective, cruise through a bit more, rather than like Mum, who was a bit more stressed about money. And then when they got back together, it was like times are good, we've got 2 of everything, we've got double income, like it was a real noticeable difference. So there's probably a part of that which has made me go, yeah, okay. And also I remember getting the contract for my first job out of uni and going, oh, this is exciting, like 45 grand, that's a lot of money. And then going, I don't really like being told that that's it though, So it was always still then doing like the odd like lifeguarding in the weekend or at the bar or always doing other random things.
Yeah. Okay, lastly, what do you know about money now that you wish you knew 10 years ago?
Maybe just invest some more and don't take it out.
Nice. Yeah. Speaking of being at the bar, invest. Yeah. I think everyone looks back and thinks, oh, I wish I started investing earlier. Or like, I think you get older, you understand investing, not just turning money into more money. You understand the whole concept of compounding investing, right? More.
Actually, no, I'm going to take that back because
Okay.
I would still put money into like little things, but then I'd take it out because I would, wouldn't have any money. So I think the thing I wish I knew was probably like patience. Like when we were doing Instagram and paying ourselves $200 a week, and I was like, well, I really got no money. I just, you mentioned sometimes how long you went to university for to get those skills to essentially just be like very starter level in whatever path you've chosen. Like it is so true that you've just got to do all the work to learn the things to then go on and build the stuff. Like look at Girls Get Off. Within the first year we did just over $1 million, but that's because we did Joe and I's brains who'd done so many things before that sort of came together. Like it's all that knowledge you've got beforehand that leads to that. So probably the thing I should have, or, I'm pretty impatient though, but what would have been useful was just sort of that trust the process and just be patient because this is just the learning phase and it will come.
Yeah, I used to have a screensaver and all it said was, it's happening. To remind myself that it is happening. It's not, you can't see it, but it's happening. And people will be like, what the fuck is that, man? What's happening? Mum's like, I'm pretty sure it was Mum was like, what's happening? I was like, it's happening. She's like, you're unwell. I'm like, correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's such a good lesson. Like I think we all want to see things happening in front of our eyes and be like, oh, I did this, therefore that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But often that happens and you realize like, oh, it's because I did that over there, but I only did that because of that. And I'm glad that I did that because that led me to do that. Oh shit, definitely awesome. Oh, and I met that person, they told me about that to do that.
Yeah.
And now that happened. Oh, okay. And that's actually how it works. And it's frustrating. You just want to go like that equals that, done.
Yeah, and I reckon I agree. And I also think one of the things I learnt was, when you're like just so grinding so much and you just feel like nothing's working, or you go, but that's my goal and how come I'm so far away from that in terms of, say, business growth or income, and you're just like, what is the missing piece here, And I think realizing that there is, although you have goals, there is no like finish line. So there's no point in being like, oh, if I just get to that amount, I'll be happy. Or if I just get that, like things will be good, I'll be less stressed. It's like, I found it very useful to go, there is no finish line. You've got to enjoy playing the game. So even if I get really stressed out or if I have a sleepless night or something, I'm like, oh, I might find a different solution here. Or, there's been a lot of times when good stuff has come from this, or how can I just enjoy playing the game rather than being, just twisting and turning in my mind.
Yeah, and I guess you are enjoying it, so that's the key. And I think a lot of people who are employed, whether it's a new job or a different venture, that's a good reminder. If you're not happy, then you're probably not going to find solutions because you don't want to be in that vehicle anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if people want to get a freak sheet, if they want to get a Missy or Dilly, and a number of what do we call the cuddle pillow? The
Bumpy Cuddles.
Bumpy Cuddles, of course. Sorry. If they want to have a crack with any of that, how do they do that?
We are at girlsgetoff.com and at girlsgetoff on Instagram.
Is it not .com?
No, I don't even know if it's available. That's quite funny though, Luke. I should look into that.
I would look it up, yeah. And, okay, so at Girls Get Off on Instagram. Facebook group still going?
Girls Get Off Uncensored.
Yeah.
Great group. Anonymous questions, girls only, sorry lads, and lots of goss in there too. It's always interesting to see the really serious stuff people might be going through, but also that, that get a lot of support for, and it's really cool to see, versus the, all the way through on the spectrum too. I'm staying at my parents' house this weekend. I need sex position suggestions for my Suzuki Swift. So there's a whole range of content in there.
Wow. Everyone can contribute.
Everyone can contribute.
And a reminder that it's not only female customers that you have?
No, yep, we do. Although we are Girls Get Off, we are our target demographic is actually in a relationship. So
Nice.
plenty of tools there that can be used on both.
Yeah, well, helping the couples get off since 2021.
That's the one.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the next chapter of your journey, Viv. Always good to see you. We're going to do a little bit extra on the business side. If you do want to tune in, check out the What's Next podcast under Next Advisory. Be good out there, Viv, and keep the world climaxing. And get on girlsgetoff.com or .com in the future and grab yourself something to spice up your life.
Thanks, Luke. Much appreciated.